will go ahead and get started. So the November 24th session of the meeting for the Diversity, Racial Equity, and Inclusion Committee is now come to order. As our first order of business is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. I assume everyone received those minutes and had a chance to review them.
Yep.
If that's the case, can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 17th meeting as written.
Thank you. Could we get a second to that motion, please?
I second.
Thank you. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. There we go. We're moving right along. Our first item of business, we have joining us today, Jesse Hines and Bob Parasol. These are the two gentlemen who are responsible for creating the civil rights documentary that we've talked about a couple of times at our meeting, and I'm sure that folks have had an opportunity to review some, if not all of it. And what we wanted to do at this point is to have Jesse and Bob speak to us just briefly about the promotional program that they're planning with the Chelmsford Telemedia organization. And they wanted to talk with us about some of our some ways that we could support them in that particular presentation. So I will hand it over to Jesse. And if you briefly give us an overview and then move into the kinds of things you'd like to hear from us and ways we could support you.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. First of all, I want to thank everybody for inviting us. Bob has come along. I'm going to do most of the talking here, but if you have questions that for either Bob or for me, we'll be happy to answer them. We really do appreciate the willingness of the committee to take an interest in our program, and to those of you, especially those of you who took the time to watch it. So we are planning a promotional program on the program for sometime in January, maybe February, maybe even later. I'll talk about that, about this, trying to schedule things. But we have a pretty clear picture now of what we're going to do. What we're going to do is to show short clips from each of the 4 episodes, and then discuss these with a yet-to-be-named collaborator. And I'll talk more about that collaborator thing in a minute. We will probably show the clips. You could watch them over Zoom, but we'll also broadcast them at the same time on Channel 8 because they'll be clearer that way. And we will have a way for people to ask questions and interact with us on camera. One of the questions that Phil asked me is how the committee can help, and here's our idea. You can help out very greatly by preparing some questions to ask of me or the collaborator who we're looking at. Like I said, I'll get to that in a minute. Or comments on the program itself. And you could do this either by calling in, by connecting via Zoom, or by emailing your questions to us beforehand that we can look at. We'd very much like it to be interactive. We prefer that you would call in or connect via Zoom, and we don't have all those logistics quite worked out yet. Another development that I want to report before I jump into the collaborator issue, another development I want to report is that we have been invited by the Chelmsford coordinator for social studies for K-12 to address the teachers, and that's going to happen on December the 14th. And we do understand that some teachers have actually already used parts of the program in their classes. Some here in Chelmsford, I was told that one teacher had used part of it. This is Stephanie Quinn I had spoken to. Some of you may know Stephanie. But I also heard through the grapevine from somebody else, one of my friends, that he had told somebody else about the program in another school district, and she had used it in the program as well. So we're looking forward to that. And we think that eventually that will mean that I will get to talk to some of the students in the high school or even in the junior high school. This, again, to be worked out. And so let me come back now to the collaborator. We do not yet have a collaborator who will work with us, but we're working on it. And we've got some, it's very interesting to contact people. I have not had an answer back from Barack and Michelle Obama. And you can laugh if you like, but
shoot for the stars, man.
But you know, I have not had an answer back from them. Jesse Jackson also has not responded yet. Okay, but believe it or not, I did get an answer back from Brian Stevenson, who gracefully declined through his personal assistant, who I actually met when I was down in Montgomery, Alabama, and I also met Brian Stevenson. There's a picture of me with Brian Stevenson on my website if you're interested. We also spoke to Rebecca Kiley, who's a public defender in Boston, who again, I know through a friend, and she worked at the Equal Justice Initiative. All these people declined very gracefully for a variety of reasons. And then I reached out to Henry Louis Gates at Harvard, and he replied, again, through an assistant, you know, very gracefully declining and recommending another professor. And but I can't get a response from these people. Then I reached out to the chair of the department. He also declined, but he was very gracefully gave us yet another name. So, you know, we continue to address people. I have a list. I'm going down the list, you know, and it's not that the list isn't any kind of like this one would be better than, I mean, obviously, if you could get a Barack Obama, that would be kind of interesting. But, you know, one thing I've learned over my career is when it comes to, how shall I say, famous people and people in the public eye, you never know. You never know that I have met my share of famous and public figures in my life. I don't know about you people, how many of you have, but I find they're completely bimodal. They're either the same as you and me, or they're complete, won't talk to you, you know? They're either one or the other. I don't find people in the middle. And I mean, Brian Stevenson, for example, when I met him, was the most unassuming person you could possibly talk to, and talk to me, like I said, just like I talk to you, and all of us talk to each other. In any event, that's where we are. As I said, I do have a list. I'm continuing to go. I just actually, just before this call, I discovered someone who I think would be very good, who I haven't yet reached out to, but I got an endorsement of that person from somebody else. So, you know, we would like to have a person of color, because, you know, Bob and I, as you can clearly see, are white septuagenarians and male, and we would like to have the discussion with someone of color, and that's what we're working on. So that's my report, keeping it nice and brief here, and I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm sure Bob would also be happy to answer questions that you may have.
Anyone have any questions for Jesse or Bob? The only question that I had at this point, and I know that things are still kind of in flux a bit. When would you want to see you know, any of the questions from us? Let's say, you know, the team people put together their own questions. Do you need to see those before the actual you know, the broadcast of the promotional program? I'm just trying to get a feel for, and it might be too early to ask the question, but just so that we're aware and can be planning for it, so that we can have information for you when you need it. Is that too early to ask that question? Or?
No, not at all. Not at all. We would like to see the questions before the program if possible. But the program, as I said, is not going to happen until February. Well, certainly not till January, but
Right.
probably I would think maybe February or even March. Again, depending on who agrees to be with us, whether that person is going to be in studio with me. If it's not somebody local, then they're not going to be in studio. But if it's somebody who there is a UMass Lowell professor who, as I said, who I just found out about, and if that person, we might just do the whole thing on Zoom. The Chelmsford Telemedia has told me, and again, Bob can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Pete Padula, who runs Chelmsford Television, said that they can somehow do both Zoom and broadcast at the same time. And I don't know the technology of that myself, but sometime after Christmas would be good. I mean, because if we have your questions or comments, again, or just again, it doesn't have to be a question, so to speak. It could be a question. Actually, the social studies teachers, they want to know how we made the program, why we chose the clips that we did. Why did we how did we put it together? Where did we find the material? How did we do the research? This type of thing that students might be interested in. And actually, my brother-in-law watched the program, and he was asking very similar questions because he was saying, well, you didn't cover this and you didn't cover that. And his name is Bob, too. And I said, Bob, you're absolutely right. But, there's television programs have a certain amount of space. You get 25 minutes. And to think we're going to cover, all of 400 years of history in 4 episodes is obviously not going to happen. So you have to pick and choose.
Phil,
Carly has her hand up, Phil.
Yeah. Oh, Carly.
And
Okay.
then Natasha after that.
Oh, Carly, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so I have a question. You said that some of the classrooms were already showing your content, and I was wondering if you have a process or a way in which you get your content into the schools and distributed, or if that's something you're still working on.
Well, it's something we're still working on. No, I don't have any magic thing. I've been once we started doing this program, I sort of stopped on the other effort. But my other effort was I was writing to superintendents of schools, and I wrote to a bunch of superintendents around. And again, Carly, one of the frustrating things, Carly, is the lack of response.
Right.
I mean, I'm a big boy. People can say, "Hey, man, leave me alone." But when you don't get any response at all, it's frustrating. And I'm sure you're nodding your head, so obviously you agree with me.
Yep.
But that's life. So you sort of wait for a certain amount of time, and then you have to move on to the next one. And then I talked to. I was a college professor. I did teach middle school 50 years ago, but once I went to graduate school and things like that, and after my industrial part of my career, I was at UMass Lowell for over 30 years. And my point is that you just move on to somebody else. I mean, it's very interesting, the Harvard thing, where people are recommending people, and then I've called, and I know people aren't in the office. I understand that. But, if they're professionals and they're active in their fields, they should be picking up their voicemail. They should be answering their phones, and but what can I do? I just keep pushing, just keep trying. Bob will tell you, I'm sure, that I'm a persistent SOB, and and that's the only way I know to do things. I mean, you don't want to make yourself an annoyance, so, but you certainly can call 2-3 times and leave a message on somebody's voicemail. And then if they don't get back to you in a week, you go, okay, well, they're not going to reply to me,
Right.
So, that's what I'm doing. But I would like to do more with the schools. I mean, again, I'm sure some of you are teachers, and the greatest thing about teaching, of course, is the interaction with the students, and that's where you get the most interesting questions and interesting discussions. And the old expression too, I'm sure, if you become a teacher by your students, you'll be taught.
Yep.
Natasha?
Yes, Jesse, this is Natasha. I want to say for your clips, and I think you've done a very good job. Keep on persevering. I have also wrote Mr. Barack Obama before, and I didn't get a response either, but that's okay. I just went on to the next person, just like you. But I can make a couple recommendations for you.
Okay.
In Boston, there is a Museum of African American History, and I know the director there, and she does presentations and talks. She might be a very good person for you to reach out to. I can send you her information. And
That'd be wonderful.
Also at Brandeis University, they have a whole department of African American studies, and there are about 10 professors there, all of color, and they are phenomenal speakers. So I would recommend that you reach out to Brandeis University as well.
Excellent, Natasha. I appreciate that very, very much.
Yes.
Yeah, appreciate it very
luck,
much.
and if you need any assistance, you can respond to me and I'll help you out.
Yeah, do you have my email address?
I do not, but isn't it?
It's extremely simple.
Okay.
It's my name, JESSE, at jessehines.com.
Okay, I like that.
My last name is HEINES. So it's JESSEHEINES.com. I mean, you can also Google me. I mean, all my university addresses. So the Jesse_Hines at uml.edu, that works. Hines at cs.uml.edu, that works. JesseHines at gmail.com, that works. I mean, they all, I have many email addresses, but the easiest one is Jesse at jessehines.com.
Okay. Thank you.
And Bob and I are in constant communication. So we're coordinating these things. Yeah. Did I see Brian? Did you indicate, Brian, that you wanted to say something? Or no? Okay.
So I think it was Bob. I see Bob's hand is up. Bob, did you know your hand was up?
Yes, I did. Thank you. You ask, questions and technical stuff. CTM does do an extensive Zoom live meeting. If you've watched some of the select board meetings or the school committee, they have the live meeting and then they have people calling in via Zoom. So that works well. As far as the questions are concerned, I personally, from the technical side, think we would like to have those sooner rather than later, because then we can relate them to the clips that we're going to show. Hopefully, some of the questions will come from watching the episodes, and then that would inform us about what the committee thinks is important from the presentation. And the other question I had was, from your personal point of view, from the committee's point of view, people of color or whatever, why do you think it's difficult to get someone that would be willing to go on camera and speak? And Jesse's used the phrase face of the race, and some people are reluctant to go on screen. Is that what we're running up against, or is it just that people are busy because it's the holidays, it's the virus, and people have busy lives? That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Natasha, I think I see your hand up.
My hand and Carly's hand are both raised, but I would say it's a combination of many things this year with the COVID crisis, with so much that happened with social injustice over the summer. There have been so many meetings and people's time that you just might be running into people who have been burnt out because they've been pulled in so many directions.
Thank you.
Sharice?
Carly was before me.
Oh, okay. I can't even see Carly's hand. I'm sorry, Carly.
Oh, no, I already asked my question.
Oh,
I'm all set.
Yeah, I echo what Latasha says as far as, being pulled in different directions. And I can use an example. My pharmaceuticals and the president of our company has just been pulled in so many directions, being interviewed and, just a big ask. And I think also not just only with social justice, just coming out of under this administration has been very taxing. I can say it for me, and as many have breathed a sigh of relief as we move into a new administration for 2021. It has really been deafening. It has been stressful for people of color. And I just think right now we're exhaling from 4 years. And so maybe you're getting a little bit of that. But I think just keep persevering. And I too, my daughter went to Boston University, and she worked for the deans there, and we have some great relationships. And like Latasha, I will be more than happy to speak on your behalf to get in front of some of those people. But I think, the pandemic has been is something. I mean, we've all transitioned into Zoom and things like that. So I just think that it's just a matter of timing. And I think as we move into the next year, Latasha's company is coming out first to the for vaccines, Pfizer, yay! So, we're moving in the right direction. So I just think you'll start getting some responses, and I like your tenacity and your perseverance to just keep pushing through. And you have our support, and I'm sure other people on the line who may not have even spoken have contacts as well. So it's good to have your contact information so we can reach out. And now that we know what you're looking to do, we can support you in that effort.
Well, we appreciate that very much. And just to add to contact information, if you do talk to people, you're certainly welcome to give people my email address. You're also welcome to send people to my website where they want to know who I am. Again, it's pretty simple. It's just jessehines.com is the website, and or you can Google me. You'll hit the university, and the university page on me has a link to my other website. So I mean, I'm my name is unique on the internet, which is kind of interesting. Although if you Google Jesse Hines, you actually hit a performer who has stuff. But I've been doing web work. That's what I taught, web technologies for 25 years. So there's something like 60,000 pages on my website. So I'm pretty easy to find. Okay, pretty easy to find. And we really appreciate the help. And like I said, the people who have watched it and sent us comments are very, very helpful.
Did I see Dave's hand up?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Phil.
How you doing, Dave?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good.
Right. So basically, yeah, I raised my hand just to second what Latasha said and Cherry's chip in as well. So I would be more than happy to provide any assistance if you need, Jesse, or anything. So I work from home 3 days a week, and 2 days I have to go to office. But in 3 days or whenever you need, I'm readily available.
Okay, well, as we've said, the things we're going to, appreciate your having our back, and and when we get closer to things, and when we do identify who's going to work with us, then those questions will be helpful, and and so I have an address for Latasha. I have an address for Charisse. Are you reading your Gmail address, Charisse? Do you use that one?
Yes, I do.
Okay, okay.
Did something happen?
Well, I have sent you emails that I haven't had an answer to, but it's okay.
You
It's
might
okay.
fall into my spam. Some people miss my R or T. I don't know if it's spelled correctly. How do you have it spelled?
Well, I got it off the website, so it's CHERRICE.LATTIMORE.
That's correct.
Yeah, at
I,
gmail.com.
yeah, I'll
Okay.
I'll check in my spam and see if I see anything because a lot of things fall into that, and I don't search spam or any
Ah,
of those. Yeah, but
okay.
I'll look into it. Thank you.
All right. Cool.
Tricia?
There we go. I just wanted to let Jesse and Bob know that we're in the beginning stages of creating a web page for our committee on the town website. And I did already put a link to your 4-part series on our diversity page.
Yes,
So,
I saw that.
oh, you did? Okay, good.
I saw it, and we greatly appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've reached out. We've done all the Facebook stuff, and every group that I belong to, I sent it to, and so we greatly appreciate it. I mean, it's, we don't get any money here. It's all volunteer work, so but obviously all we want to do is try to educate people, and it's kind of interesting, the comments. I know we're running out of time here, so, and I don't want to take the whole meeting, with all due respect to your committee. Phil said 10 minutes, and I can see we're already at 25. So uh, I'd be happy to talk to people offline, as I said, just to send me an email, and if you want phone number, and I'll call you, etc. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse. Thanks a lot, Bob. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
we'll be hearing more from you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. All right. Moving on. I I believe I had mentioned at our last meeting that I'd been contacted by some folks in Bristol, Rhode Island, and they were in the process of actually putting together a proposal for a diversity committee, much like ours, but for the town of Bristol, Rhode Island. I was on a call with them on Thursday, and I was actually joined by Dee Yancey, who heads up a similar diversity committee in North Andover, and the other individual, I want to say Ruth Azavant, and she's at in Shrewsbury, and she has heads up a similar organization in Shrewsbury. And basically, we just had a conversation. The folks in Bristol wanted to know, how did we come together? What was it like, trying to do the work that we do in Chelmsford? Just just any and all kinds of questions, and we chatted for I don't know, about a half hour, 40 minutes or so. Myself and Dee and I believe it was Ruth, all kind of sharing our own perspectives. So that it wasn't anything planned, nothing scripted. They basically just wanted to pick our brains. One of my main questions for them was, gee, how did you find out about us? Because it's not like everybody knows that we're in existence. And interestingly enough, she had seen the article in the Lowell Sun. So she's in Bristol, Rhode Island, but had seen the article in the Lowell Sun, and then she followed up by checking online, trying to see what she could find out, about the town of Chelmsford and so forth. So it was really interesting. One of the things that I found out, and I found was most interesting, is that it seemed, especially from talking to the folks in Shrewsbury and the folks in Bristol, Rhode Island, that they didn't feel as though they were getting the level of support from their own communities that they thought they might have thought they would get. And I was, I found that pretty interesting, and they were saying that at least in the case of Bristol, Rhode Island, they're going to have to do their own proposal. They have to take a formal proposal to the town council. The town council then will either approve or deny. They've had some preliminary conversations, and they seem to think that there's enough support to get approval, but they're also getting a fair amount of pushback. So I found that interesting, given the fact that we haven't had that, because one of the questions, or at least not to my knowledge, we have, negative, feedback around, the work that we're trying to do. So, I felt, that we were, as I listened to them, I felt pretty fortunate that we were in a little different situation, and a very different situation. And I explained that to them. So that went well. I don't know that we'll hear from them again, but goodness is, just by participating in that call, I was able to connect with two other towns who also have similar types of committees. So there's some like-minded groups that we can continue to kind of reach out to, touch, build networks with these folks. Not that we've done anything now, but at least there's an opportunity to start to kind of catalog where these other groups are and be able to reach out to them. So just wanted to share that with you folks. Any questions for me on that one? Yeah, just pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, great. The next item, I think I want to hand over to Tricia. This is on the draft proclamation and the draft pledge that she had sent out, and I know that actually I don't want to jump the gun, but I thought both of them were great. So I'm I'm all set. Two thumbs up as far as I'm concerned. But let me be quiet now and hand it over to Tricia.
Okay, thanks. Did everybody have a chance to read first the proclamation? Okay. Did anybody have any suggestions for edits, whether to language, to minimize any language, to add anything? I'm really just looking for feedback as to what you thought and whether we should modify it at all.
I thought it was
Okay. Brian, did you have any suggestions? Joe, anybody else?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
The only
Joe.
thing that I noticed is that whereas is misspelled.
Ah, well, that's a big thing. I will make sure I fix that. Were it all the whereases?
Yeah, it's
All of them?
WHERAS all over the place. So
That's funny. That's what I get for copying and pasting. All right. Okay, I'll make sure I fix that. Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, I was. Oh,
Go ahead,
I'm sorry.
Joe.
Yeah, I was thinking that on the the very last sentence on let's see, after stand against racism, discrimination, and hatred, and I was going to suggest alternate language that says something like, and promote an environment of trust and mutual respect for all.
Wouldn't that be one of the bullets under the now therefore? Wouldn't that be like part of one of the bullets below? Particularly bullet number 4, where it says listen and learn about how we can do better in our community. Maybe there's an opportunity there, or the bullet before that.
well, doesn't the bullet after that pretty much say that in a different?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, is that within those bullets there, it sort of talks to that.
Do you want me to rearrange it in any way? I mean, if you want me to move something to a different spot?
Yeah, I guess just to let you know what my thinking was, I was trying to address, that last line I thought might be a little, it seemed to be maybe a little soft, a little squishy for me. Then
Okay,
I thought,
squishy.
yeah. Then I was thinking, something, that might be, a little less of that. I was just, thinking if we could replace some of that language, the love and positivity. I mean, I like it, but I'm not sure how that, how
You don't
that
know if
plays
the
into
board would really sign on to that.
So those are just my thoughts.
Okay, does everybody agree that I could just kind of rearrange things a little bit and maybe put that bullet point or as a final statement?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I'll rework that and send it back out to everybody. Okay, I'm just gonna highlight it for now, Phil, and then I'll send it to you first, Phil, and just see if that works for you, okay?
Mhm.
All right.
Great job, Tricia, though.
Thanks. Well,
Yeah.
I did a
Yeah.
little cutting and pasting from a few that I found online, and I just thought, hey, they created this committee, so it's a great way to start. And I'm not sure when their next meeting is. Their last meeting was November 16th. I don't know if they're going to meet on November 30th or not, but it might be a little too close to get it on that agenda. But maybe we'll kick off the year with their first meeting in January. And just start 2021 with a really positive
Mm.
message from the select board. So I'll see if we can get that on their agenda for the first meeting in January. Speaking of January, so I had my first goal meeting with the town manager about supporting our group, and he's going to be presenting quarterly his goal progress to the select board. So maybe whatever meeting he's going to be doing, his update to the board would be the best meeting for us to kind of give our first update as well. And then maybe have them sign this proclamation as part of that. What do you think, Phil?
It makes sense to me. I guess I should ask really the most important question is the timing. When is that likely to happen? Sometime the first of the year, I would assume it wouldn't be happening before then.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not sure what their schedule is yet for January, but I can certainly find that out. And I'm hoping it's going to be after we meet with the chief. So, but that's kind of later in January. That's on.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll get the schedule and we'll see, but I'll have the proclamation ready for you on that. And then when it came to the pledge, that was also kind of more for any other organization that we touch base with, that we want to interact with. For example, I did ask Jean Parziali, who's our HR director, to join us for our December 15th meeting, because that day she has a diversity training scheduled for town employees. And I wanted her to be able to report to you guys on that training. And I was going to have this pledge available for everybody that took the training to send it out to those attendees and have them sign it. So if that meets with your approval, if you could just take a look and see if there's any other tweaking on that you thought we needed to do before we wanted to commit to that.
So I was reading through this while we were talking a few minutes ago, and the only part that jumps out at me that I would like to get rid of is in the third I pledge, get rid of the 3 words "within my means,"
Okay.
because that sort of implies well, I'm going to give only as much as I feel like I want to give, because my means can be defined by anybody who who says, well, these are my means and this is what I define. And that it just sort of implicitly supports the status quo, which
I
is
think I might have
not
already
what we
taken
want.
that out, Brian. Let me see, because I'm trying to find, you said it's in the third I pledge? Oh,
I
within
pledge
my,
within my means to work actively to support public policy positions, yada, yada, yada.
got it.
You
That's
already
good.
took it out?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Sharice, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was going to ask, is this, are we going to send this over to the select board prior to them? Is this something that they have to vote upon, or this is?
No, not the pledge. No, the
Okay.
pledge is up to any individual, and it can't be mandated per se, but it can be encouraged, but it really, we don't have to ask the Board of Selectmen for people to take this pledge. This is just, it's a personal pledge.
Okay.
The proclamation, I may want to send them in advance and just say, ask them if they want to tweak it a little bit. I hope they don't, because I think it's good the way it is. I don't think they need to approve the pledge, but it's up to you guys. If you would rather get their permission, it's up to you.
Now, if we don't need it, then we shouldn't do it. If we agree that we like what's in there, because I think when you start asking for permission, you would get more than what you bargained for. And a second question I had is, do we have a schedule? Do we have the chief of police on the schedule already?
I did, yeah, I got the dates a little confused, but January 19th is what we talked about last time, right, Latasha? Because you said that
Right.
it's the day after
Yes.
I can't remember, Martin.
Dr.
You're right,
Luther-
Martin Luther King
King.
Yeah,
Jr.
Martin Luther
Did
King.
he commit to that date?
Yeah.
Okay,
Excellent.
Great.
thank you.
You're welcome. So there's no other tweaking on the pledge besides Brian's comments, I'll finalize that. Is that good?
Great. Sounds good to me.
And can we go on record as taking this? Like, can we put this as a thing that like, like you sign it and send it back to you and you can like, put it on the website? I think that would be a great idea. I would love to put my name on this.
Okay, thank you. Let's first, do you want to, Phil, entertain a motion to accept this pledge as as something we want to encourage the community to partake in? As a committee, we accept this pledge and then we can individually sign it. So if somebody
Yes.
can make a motion and then second, and then we can all vote on it.
All right.
Yeah, with the following
Yep, someone make a
corrections and
motion?
whereas,
Okay, I'm sorry, Sharice, what was that?
with the corrections that were stated, like
Yeah.
the whereas and yes.
Yeah, well, the proclamation, I will fix the spelling on the proclamation. So we're gonna do both. I would do them separately then. One motion to accept the
Okay.
proclamation as amended, and then another motion to accept the pledge as amended.
All right. So the first motion is to accept the proclamation as amended.
Who's gonna
Second,
make that motion? Somebody has to make the motion besides the
Making the
chair.
motion.
I'll do it. Motion to accept the proclamation.
Someone
Seconded.
second the motion, please.
And I
Seconded.
will second the motion to
All
accept the
approved, say aye.
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 Okay. Who's gonna make the
And-
next motion?
I'll just make it, let's just make it easier on the note taker to copy and paste. Motion to accept the pledge. Rachel, you got a second then.
Seconded.
All right, copy and paste for the minutes.
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Right.
There you go. We're all set.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Good deal. All right. So that's taken care of. So as we continue down the list, the next item is the continuation of the goal discussion. Just to kind of refresh people's memory, when we met last week, we had a lot of really good discussion around the goal of engaging with the Chelmsford Police Department. A lot of good information came out of that. All those great questions, and so that was definitely time well spent. If you remember your list of our top goals, we have, I believe, by my count, about 12 other goals that actually need to be reviewed, and we need to get our subcommittees together for each of those goals. I'm not quite sure that taking one goal per meeting or two goals per meeting is actually going to work. In fact, as things seem to be moving quickly in terms of different activities being scheduled, we have the police chief coming in. We've got folks coming from town offices to talk with us. We've got the focus on the group on Paul Cohen's goal sheet and that information. I would like to just for a moment check in with the crew to see if there might be some appetite for us, for lack of a better term, accelerating some of these conversations around the goal. And by that I mean, looking at our next meeting or our next two meetings and saying, well, we'll take the next 6 of those goals and focus in on, reviewing at a high level what those goals are, identifying the team or the subcommittee that's going to be working on those goals, and allow them to go off and start doing some work on that, as opposed to, maybe just doing a few each meeting. I'm feeling like with things are starting to kind of build for us, and we need to get some focused attention on the goals, get the teams identified so they can go off and start to flesh the goals out. I think one of the things that came out of last week's meeting, and I thought was pretty clear, is that the goals as they're stated here are just kind of the high level piece. They really don't include, the specific detail around what are we going to do, what are we actually creating, what's it going to look like, what's the time frame. All of those things really need to be identified for each of those goals. So with that, and without that, I think we're going to have some difficulty if we don't start to get that really clear really soon. So I'm thinking that if we have an opportunity to focus some attention on the next meeting or the next two meetings at the very least, so we can get those goals identified in the support teams nailed down. How do people feel about that? Does that sound like a good idea? Latasha, you have any thoughts on that?
I think it would be great if we were able to subdivide into some sub-teams and have different champions for things that they're passionate about and for them to report back to us on a weekly basis. Like you said, it'll just help us keep the momentum going.
Any other thoughts? I see some heads nodding. I just want to make sure everybody's kind of in sync as we move forward, because I think that for at least the next two meetings, I think we should focus on that. And if for some reason we are even more successful, at our next meeting, we don't need the whole of the second meeting to do that, so much the better. That's great. But I'm thinking we need to start to kind of dig in on these things and figure out who wants to work on what. And now I'm assuming everybody got the list that I sent out last week with all the so those represented our top scoring goals. So if you haven't had an opportunity to do so yet, if you look over those and identify the ones that the things that you're most passionate about, the things you may want to work on most, so that when we come together next week and we go down that list and we start talking about the goals, we've got people, you've already thought about that. And you said, yeah, I like this one, or this is something I could bring, some a real energy to, or whatever the case may be. But we come to the meeting with that already, figured out, and hopefully we can get them all nailed down. And then, if we are able to do that next week, then the following week we can start to talk, in a little bit more detail about what the individual goals, are going to look like. People can kind of report out on what they're planning on doing. And the other thing I wanted to check too, Trish, I know we had some conversation last week about it, but it was my understanding that because of the size of our group, if the sub teams were maybe 2 or 3 people, that those sub teams could meet outside of our scheduled meetings, and we wouldn't, and they wouldn't kind of fall under the open meeting law. We wouldn't have to invite them.
As long as there's not a quorum of the committee. Yes.
Okay, because that I think would really help us if we could do that, because that way we can have our meeting, but the sub teams can still get together at other times to continue to flesh out their individual goals, and hopefully again speed up the process.
We have some hands raised. Therese has hers raised.
All right.
He answered my question already about when we were going to decide who's going to be on what committee. So that was answered. Thank you. Sorry about that.
You're welcome, Trisha.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I sent this to everybody. Did it make sense? I kind of took the bullet points that Phil did and put them into the 3 different categories in the worksheet that was the format that our town manager is using. So does that make sense for people that we kind of go along with the 3 different groups of, okay, I just wanted to make sure, because again, I was given this form by, the committees to help Paul achieve his goals. And I thought, all right, I'm just going to throw up the mission statement and what the expectation and all that is on the top. But I thought it would help us organize our thoughts a little bit more. So if when we're doing our subgroups, if we can kind of keep it to, the town culture and the education and public relation type segments, that might keep things a little bit more organized. So, okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody got those grids and that it was at least a starting point. Again, feel free to add to them or change them.
I think that makes sense. Any other?
One of the top ones was updating Chelmsford's curriculum to include anti-racist messaging. It had a 4.9 score. Do we know who's interested in perhaps working on that committee? Maybe show a raise of hands. We have Lauren.
Susan wanted to do that too, Susan McKinnon. And
And looks like Margaret.
So we can only have 3, or we can have more, but they can only meet out 3.
yeah, I think you want to keep your little outside meeting. Oh, I blocked. Oh no, I didn't block myself. You want to keep your small subgroups. If it's really turning into a subcommittee, then it should be posted. But if it's just kind of getting ideas together, just keep it like 3 people, 4 people at the most.
Okay.
But I know.
Can I add my 2 cents to any of the meetings?
Well, they will always come back to this meeting to share, and that's when we can give our feedback. So you don't have to sit on every committee. I think it just might be good for if you're really passionate about it, say, yes, that's the one I want to champion.
And Margaret's raising her hand too. Does Margaret, I know she said she's sorry she's quiet because she keeps freezing up and getting blocked out.
Name.
Okay, good.
I have her, Susan, and Lauren. Was there one more person interested in that one? Great. Updating the curriculum.
Sharice, I think Sharice's hand was up.
And Jay's raising his hand off and on. Jay, you want to unmute yourself, Jay? And
there are other committees I like too, so I can defer, for someone who may have more interest in that area. I'm flexible.
I am too. I just figured I have connections in the school system, so I could certainly, and as a matter of fact, I spoke to the superintendent today about the committee and said we would be working on stuff, and he was very open to it. I happen to have a separate meeting with him. So I just thought I'd be a good liaison.
I think you would be, yes.
Yeah, I think we want to keep you on that committee.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll step back so it can be 3. And so if you have 3 already, I will find myself someplace else. There's other work to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil, it is 7:52. We want to look at another committee, or do we want to end the meeting?
I posted it till 8:30 because at one time, Latasha, you had said, do we want to go longer than an hour? So when I post the meeting, I post it to 8:30. It's up to you guys. But
yeah.
Well, what I think would be helpful is that, now that we, kind of know exactly how we're going to proceed, that folks have an opportunity to look at that list again, understanding, how we're going to proceed. Think about what it is they want to do so that when we come together next week, you can jump right on and go through the list. People can identify what groups, and then we can keep the momentum moving that way. I mean, that would be my recommendation. I don't know how other folks feel about that, but I think that would make sense. And then again, when we come together on next Tuesday, we'll all have a better sense of where we want to sign up. We can go through that process, start to fill this out, and then start to talk more about how we go about putting some flesh on the bones, as it were. So if folks are all set with that, I can motion that you get an extra 32 minutes. Before I do that, I think I need to let Tricia mention something.
Well, I just wanted to ask about next Tuesday. I'm supposed to be off next week, and I didn't know if there was somebody else that could facilitate a Teams meeting outside of the Town of Chelmsford organization. If somebody else has the app, they could do it. Teresa, And are you adjusting your camera? I can't tell.
I have Zoom, but I don't have the meeting. I don't have this app. I can Zoom anybody.
I have the Teams app.
Okay.
Would you
Oh,
be
wait a
able
second. Oh, next Tuesday?
next Tuesday?
Well, I don't know. I'm having surgery on Monday, so I don't know how I'm gonna feel on Tuesday.
Oh,
It's an invasive procedure. It's like an in and out.
Yeah.
You crossing your finger, Brian?
For you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so depending on what medicine I'm on, I can host with some great spirit. It might be quite fun, but we'll be recording, right?
And if you can't, I mean, I can always start the meeting, and it's just when I'm home, my dogs bark. I'll just have to
Okay, I can start. Yeah, I can try. I can do it. I'll try it.
Okay, I'll have one as a backup just in case. I'll be on the ready just in case you run into
I'll
trouble.
let you know that early on that day.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
that's good.
Okay. All right, great. Anything else? Any other items?
Just one question. Are there any other breakout groups that we wanted to establish from the list? I thought that there was more than one from the last.
Yes, I think Phil is just wanting people to go back to look at the list to see what they're interested in. Is there one that you're really interested in?
I wasn't picking the schools because I don't really have a lot of involvement or connections within the schools, but I just recall from last week, there were a couple of groups that I thought that people had suggested, and I didn't know if we wanted to cover that, but I'll go over the list. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Yep.
Hi.
Great. All right, well, if we have no other items, I would like.
I had
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
Can we add an item to the agenda for next week to go over those questions that Brian and Latasha did for police? I just had a few additions that I wanted to add in there.
It's on the agenda for December 8th,
Okay,
so not next week.
I could wait.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
the process when we discuss those is going to be one of, I think, more like trying to combine and squish into as few questions as possible, because we are going to have to, have a time limited period of time to discuss these with the chief. I mean, yes, we get to send them to him ahead of time, but the time that we will have to discuss his answers back to us is going to be limited. So we're going to have to, it's going to have to be, guillotine level chopping and squishing and all sorts of other good stuff.
That or we invite them to a future meeting and do part 2.
Right.
Hey, Phil.
And just so that I'm clear, we're looking at not December the 1st, but December the 8th to have that conversation.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right.
And
That
we're
makes
going
sense.
to have the questions to him hopefully that following week.
Yep. Okay. I think that makes sense.
Hey, Phil.
Is Jay trying to say something?
Can you hear me, Tricia?
Barely, Jay. Jay, can you
Sorry.
speak up a little bit louder?
Is it possible to include the library? Somehow we can utilize library culture, either in town culture or communication. That could be very useful as well. Like, there are a lot of people visiting libraries, so we can utilize those services to spread our message as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about those individual goals that lend themselves to that, we'll be able to plug in and play with the library wherever that might fit, because I think there are a number of different places where the library could be helpful to us.
Thank you.
Lauren, you have your hand up?
oh no, sorry. That was I hit something by mistake, I think. Nope,
Okay.
sorry.
Just wanted-
No, wrong hand, sorry.
Well, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting for November the 24th of our group?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second to that motion?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All right, everyone have a wonderful holiday.
You
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving.
Happy
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanksgiving,
Gabrielle.
You too,
everybody.
Phil. Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Bye.